Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribharadhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribharadhari Yasoda Nandana Rajajana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiyara Banacha Ari Yamuna Tiyara Banacha Di Jaya Rad Hamadava Kunja Vihari Jaya Rad Hamadava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribharadhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribharadhari Yasoda Nandana Rajajana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiyara Banacha Yamuna Tiyara Banacha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribharadhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribharadhari Yasoda Nandana Rajajana Ranjana Nandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiyara Banachari Yamuna Tiyara Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribharadhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribharadhari Yasoda Nandana Rajajana Ranjana Nandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiyara Banachari Yamuna Tiyara Banachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, we are reading from the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 21, about Maharaj Prithu's instructions. And we'll be reading it right here, but not today. It will be a Tuesday, January 7th, correct? Tomorrow, who gives the Krishna book? And some people think it gets hot when it's 28 degrees. Some people think 30 is hot. Some people think 33 is hot, but today it will be 40. Nobody thinks that's not hot, right? 28 maybe, 38 more likely, or 30 more likely, 33 most likely, but 40 definitely. Nobody needs a jacket today? Need some blankets? All right. So, today we will be reading the Transcendental Diaries. These were written down by Hari Sori. He was the servant for Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada would travel with a servant and a secretary but Prabhupada kept the secretaries busy, so they didn't have time to write diaries. He had a lot of things to take care of. So, this is Volume 3, Chapter 2, Washington, D.C., July 4th, 1976. What would that mean for America? Anybody know? Why would July 4th, 1976 be a significant date? What? No, for America. It's what? No? You don't know July 4th? Independence Day. And what was the year? 1776. So this is the 200-year centennial of America, July 4th, 1976. They don't study the American Revolution here? The British probably didn't allow that to be taught, did they? Because they lost that one against, they didn't want that to be taught here, so they could lose to either the Africans or the Afrikaners. Okay, so the devotees took Srila Prabhupada to the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal in the Great Falls Park for his morning walk. Although it was midsummer, there was still a slight chill. Can you relate to that today? No. And he was well wrapped up in a pullover. Should we follow Prabhupada's example and be well wrapped up? Chador and woolen hat. His respiratory system is quite blocked with mucus, making his voice sometimes thick and husky. That's funny. When I'm not feeling well, I have trouble getting things done. You know, and Prabhupada would still do all those things. His scientists came along and took advantage of the opportunity to ask further questions. What would Prabhupada have known about science? Would he know anything about science? Which field in science would he know the most about? What? Chemistry. That's right. He had a degree in chemistry. Anybody else have that here? My son got that. That's a hard one. And then he figured rather than getting a doctorate, he'd get a master's in business. And I had a stepmother who her grandchildren were still in trade school. And she says, oh, can't he finish anything? But it was a much better decision to get the master's degree in business, because the master's degree in business does a lot more than in chemistry or in IT or any of it else, because those are the people that run the business. So that's why it's good parents stay together, because the stepmothers appreciate theirs. Like the Cinderella had a stepmother, right, in the play? No matter what she did, stepmother doesn't appreciate. Hers are better, even if they do nothing. Does that sound like the worst thing a child can do? Instead of getting a doctorate in chemistry, he got a master's in chemistry and a master's in business. Well, they start spreading a rumor. Do you know what Kshudi's son did? Instead of getting a doctorate in chemistry, he got a master's in chemistry and a master's in business. Isn't that terrible? And you ask people here how the financial system works. Do they know how it works or how accounting works? Does Prabhupada know? Of course he does. His scientists came along and took advantage to ask further questions. As he strolled steadily down the foliage-fringed track running alongside the side of the canal, Swarup Damodar asked him, that's the Prabhupada disciple who has a degree in biology, not Swarup Damodar, the temple president here, asked him if the soul, even though it is non-physical, can be measured. Since Shastra states that the soul is 1/10,000th the tip of a hair in size. Sadaputa has estimated its size as 2 angstroms. He arrived at this by calculating the size of a tip of a hair. You cut a tip into 100 pieces, then you take that 100th piece, cut it into 100 more. Can you see that? Only with the advanced microscope, right? The angstrom is the smallest unit of measure known to science. It is even smaller than the hydrogen atom. The hydrogen atom is small? See, that's something people don't know, like about weights and measures. Do you know that water, by volume, it's 66% hydrogen, but by weight, it's 96% oxygen, because oxygen weighs 32 times as much as the hydrogen does. Think about that. It's twice as much by volume, but only 1/16 as much by weight. Shows us how we can't tell what's going on even in the material world. Swarup Damodar wanted to know if this estimation was reasonable. Srila Prabhupada thought so. He said that it can be measured because the statement is there in the Puranas. Swarup Damodar, Sadaputa, and Madhava Prabhus all hold doctorates, but they all submit to Prabhupada's judgment. Srila Prabhupada's knowledge begins where theirs leaves off. This is a good point to think. No one can defeat his arguments, nor match his logic and common sense observations. Whenever we think we know more than the spiritual master, we might get in trouble. The person who was in charge in Los Angeles, he was there when my mother was going over the details to write the book trust for Prabhupada. And he thought that everything should be centralized. And Prabhupada said, no, only the book trust and the GBC should be centralized, but the temples should each be separate. So later on, he left the movement and he went to my mother and he said, I left the movement because I thought Prabhupada was wrong about not wanting to centralize everything. And my mother said, no, that was the correct way to do it. You should listen to your spiritual master and to the attorney because they both know more than you do. Now think about it for a minute. Prabhupada is the spiritual authority. Then you forget that and look at material calculations. Prabhupada had degrees, and so did my mother. As a materialist, you can conceivably see if the attorney and the spiritual master had a different position, maybe you would try to take one of them. But when the attorney and the spiritual master think it should not be centralized, based on what do you think it should be? How is it that you know more than the spiritual master without being a realized soul and know more about the law, even though the attorney has the law degree and you don't? This is overestimation of ourselves. We're better to underestimate ourselves than over. As soon as we overestimate ourselves, we get into big trouble. Especially we see in relation to the pure devotees, and to God we are nothing. So, as he walked past a small waterfall and along the leafy lane, Swarup Damodar questioned Srila Prabhupada as to how educated Bengalis could be attracted to our movement. He said he had a friend with whom he had studied in Calcutta who decried Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement as being for less educated people. His friend preferred the Vedanta Society run by the Ramakrishna Mission. Yet Vedanta Society's discussions offer no clear understanding of Bhagavad Gita. Srila Prabhupada told him they do not join us because they know they will have to give up eating meat and fish. They like Vivekananda's idea that whatever you like, you can do and still be spiritual. How does that sound? Like if you get a job at a company, they just say, doesn't matter, whatever you like, you can do it here and you'll still have a job and get paid. You want to see a list of companies that give that to you? Here's the list. I have the list here of companies that will let you do what you want and they'll still pay you. You see the list here? Can you name some of those companies? Which one would you like to work for? So, is that how we choose spiritual life? We think, well, I'll just pick. I gave a talk in Peter Maritzburg in '72, and they said, it's funny, they would, at the Hindu society there, they had about 8 people would come up first, and they'd say, "Revered Swamijis, ladies and gentlemen, beloved children. First, we'd like to announce our treasurer." And he would get up and say, "Revered Swamijis, ladies and gentlemen, beloved children." And then finally the one guy said the same thing, and he said, "Now, these Swamis," of course I wasn't a Swami, but they said, "are going to speak some things you like and some things you don't like. So you accept what you like and you reject what you don't like. And this is the basis of Krishna consciousness, correct? Is that it? It's just like if I'm giving you directions on how to go from here to Peter Maritzburg, and you like some of the directions and you don't like some of them. So you follow part of my directions or part of what the GPS says, and you don't follow the other ones. Will you get there? But you're following what you like. So this is why they don't like it. But we should do something that actually works. You go to a school that's like the trade school. You think law school is too hard. Why don't I go to checker school at the ShopRite? Much quicker, and you start getting paid quicker, right? But what you get paid is peanuts compared to diamonds. They are too sinful to understand the teaching of the Gita. Meat eaters have no access. In class, Srila Prabhupada read from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 20.98 through 99. It describes Sanatan Goswami's mood of humility and surrender when he escaped the Nawab Hussain Shah and met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Benares. Prabhupada preached that this is the correct mood with which to approach a guru. Even though Sanatan was a very learned man and chief minister in the Nawab's government, still he considered himself most fallen because he did not know his spiritual identity. Raise your hands if Krishna has revealed to you his identity with him. Nobody? Anybody pick one and imagine they're in relationship with Krishna? Does that work well? Okay. Srila Prabhupada advised us to follow in his footsteps, because in this age, he said, even big scientists and philosophers are ignorantly thinking they are their body. There was a near disaster right after Srila Prabhupada's massage today. I had just escorted him to bathe. As I walked back through the bedroom, I heard a tremendous crash. Not knowing what to expect, I rushed to the bathroom door and looked inside. Srila Prabhupada was standing in the bath at the opposite end of the room, looking very concerned and surprised. I looked down in the gap between us. The entire floor was covered with thousands of shards of scattered glass. Shocked, I realized I was looking at him through the now empty shower screen frame. The bath and shower were combined, and the shower door, a sliding glass panel, fitted with the top edge of the bathtub. Srila Prabhupada had slid it shut, and the entire sheet of glass had simply fallen out. By Krishna's mercy, it had toppled outward and not in on top of him. He was highly displeased and strongly criticized the shoddy workmanship. I fetched Brisha Copy to get things cleaned up, and Srila Prabhupada ordered him to have it fixed properly. Rupanuga came in the afternoon and chanted with Srila Prabhupada in his sitting room. See, Prabhupada wanted things to be done right away. Sometimes I say that to people, when you start a job, you finish it, right? Whether you're chanting, we don't just, the pujari doesn't stop in the middle of arti, you can come back later, right? So I tell people that when you're doing a particular service, you do it all the way through. You wouldn't like it if we went downstairs and they started to cook, but they went away to finish it after some time. Would that be it? And sometimes people have the habit here of not finishing things. Many people do, but some people have that habit. And it's a bad habit to be in. You start something, you finish it. Like I say with laundry. You put it in the wash, and then you put it on the line, and then you go get it. You don't leave it for days, and then put it in the wash, and then leave it in the wash, and then put it on the line and forget it there. So these things is something to be responsible. Just like when the glass breaks, do we just leave it for later? No, we have to fix it. That's like something emergency. We fix it right away. Prabhupada was talking about how crazy things are becoming. The organization run by Mrs. Kochar in Delhi condemns our movement, and yet at the same time is spending 169 lakhs of rupees per year inviting people from around the world to speak on culture. Srila Prabhupada sarcastically questioned, what kind of culture could it be? They speak, milk is dangerous and meat is nutritious, kill all the cows. Oh yes, it's very scientific. This is their culture. Milk is dangerous, is it not? What's funny, people go by, they worry about carbohydrates. Some people say, I can't eat any carbohydrates. And then people want everything not gluten-free. But gluten isn't a problem unless you're allergic to it. The real issue with most of these is acid and alkaline. And we find what things are acid, like meat is high acid, grains are slightly acidic, even butter is slightly acidic. But dal is high alkaline, leafy vegetables are high alkaline, and ghee is high alkaline. So for them to think that meat, all the stomach issues and the cancer issues come from the acid foods, because the acid foods create a cancerous condition. But you don't hear them talking about that as much, the acidity. They want them just to take the antacid, which sometimes people need. There's some good natural antacids like a turmeric and a ginger and the aloe vera. But it's better to buy it because some of the aloe vera plants are poison and some are not. So meat is good and milk is dangerous? No, it's not true. We agreed. Pushta Krishna Maharaj told him that he had read a newspaper article this morning which said that if women do not breastfeed their babies, they would have to increase the size of the herds of cows, with connotation that this would be a bad thing. Srila Prabhupada responded that their solution would be to kill the children. He gave Rupanuga 2 examples. He heard from his disciples of the callous natures of today's motherhood. Kartikeya told me, after many years he went to see his mother, and mother was going to ball dance, and mother said, wait, I am coming back. And he was surprised. He told me, my son has come back after many years, and she could not talk with him. She was going to ball dance. This is the mother. Rupanuga reflected that there is not even mother love anymore. Mother killing, Prabhupada told him. Looking in my direction, he told him he was about to be killed. He admits his grandmother advised the mother, yes, Krishna saved him because he is a devotee. Some way or other he was saved. He asked me if my grandmother was still living. So is that better to feed the babies the formula instead of the breast milk? The one woman said to me, she says, well, I think women should be allowed to not have to breastfeed babies. I said that would be fine, but then they should pay their share that it costs the health care system if they don't breastfeed. Now, a certain amount of women in America don't breastfeed their babies. How much does that cost the health care system every year? 100 billion rand. Because there's certain things you can't get in the formula that you need in the breast milk. So then you just take the amount of women that don't breastfeed, divide 100 million rand by them, and that's how much each one should pay to the healthcare system. Oh, well, I don't like that. So, but if you're costing it to them, right? Just like people who smoke cost more. I told someone that in America, they say that every cigarette costs, it would be about, let's see, 4, about 5 rand each. I said, so they should charge the people 5 rand extra health care for every cigarette that you smoke. Because in America, they smoke 500 billion cigarettes, and it costs the health care $125 billion. And one person says, you can't add it up that way. I said, what do you mean I can't? I just did. So you take the amount that it costs, and it should be taxed on each cigarette. Oh, well, people don't like that. But it's pretty easy to see the figure, isn't it? You look at what it costs the healthcare system, divide it by the amount of cigarettes, that's what each one costs. So I think we've all contributed to the to not costing that to the healthcare system, right? By not smoking. And if you're not going to smoke, don't smoke the expensive brand. That way you save more money, right? It's funny, people are broken, yet they go out to smoke cigarettes. It says in the ad, are you smoking more and enjoying it less? Are they? Of course they are. So you know what the ad says? You need to switch brands. Because the other brand, you'll enjoy it more, right? Because it comes in a different package. Like if there's strychnine poisoning, but we call it sugars. It sounds sweet, is it okay? They put the strychnine poisoning in that drug called sugars because it makes people hallucinate. But it also kills people. But if you call it sugars, it makes it okay, right? Because it sounds like a sweetener. But rat poison is meant to kill, isn't it? Is it? That's why we don't take rat poison? Even if it's called sugars? That's a drug they have here called sugars, right? And you give it a cute name, it makes it okay. But it doesn't. So, Prabhupada gave a little laugh. Why don't you say, you wanted to kill me? Just see, I'm chanting Hare Krishna. I told him, I don't think it would be received very well. Krishna Krishna Krip. She might say, see, I was right. Prabhupada shook his head in sadness and disgust. Mother advising young daughter to kill her child. Today was America's my daughter got pregnant at a very young age. So do you think we should have an abortion? No? You don't think so? Or is it a little late now that the child is 33 and has a child of her own that's going to be 8? Do we just kill them both? Would that be a good idea? These are some that call and say, I love you. Do you kill such people? As long as you kill them early, because inside the womb it's just a lump until the day before it's born, and then it turns into a human, right? They used to think that human life was the same as a pig until like the last month. But I knew a woman who was in the hospital and she was going to have to deliver at 7 months. I said, are they going to be formed at 7 months? Can they deliver? And this was a specialized hospital for difficult pregnancies. And they showed me, they said, see this one here? This one was delivered after 6 months. This one after 5 months. And one after 4 months. And they were small, but they were fully formed. My friend said he had knew someone in America that their child was born at like half term, and it was born at 2.2 pounds. So you know what they named the little girl? It was born at 2.2 pounds? Kilo. So she was named Kilo. And sure enough, they grew up. But these ones that people are telling you that you should get them aborted, they turn into children who love you and you love them, and then they have their own children, And maybe the job that she does wouldn't be happy if. Let's see here. Today was America's bicentennial Independence Day celebration, and hundreds of thousands of visitors poured into the Capitol. The devotees asked Srila Prabhupada if he would like to see the festivities. He consented, and at 6 p.m. a small convoy of 10 vehicles departed from our temple grounds, with Srila Prabhupada in the second car. As our Transcendental caravan gradually wound its way down the hillsides, we passed thousands of people parked at the roadside, all hoping to catch glimpses of the promised massive fireworks display without having to enter the city. Thinking of the report we received previously from Adi Keshava Swami, describing the positive reception of their kirtan party, which travels around New York on the back of a flatbed truck, I observed that a similar arrangement here would be a big success in the slow-moving traffic. This prompted an immediate request from Srila Prabhupada for the devotees to do kirtan. The message was passed to the lead vehicle, a large van packed with devotees. They had instrument, and as devotees burst into song, everyone on the roadside turned to look, many of them waving, chanting, and dancing. Srila Prabhupada enjoyed the favorable response. He said that people actually want to chant and dance. They do here, don't they? But are artificially suppressing it after being artificially suppressed. So far, I have observed people here and in the communist countries are not different. The general people are very nice, but they are not allowed. Once we arrived in the city precincts, even policemen began dancing at the sound of madungas and kartals, smiling and waving as we passed them on the street corners. Everyone was in a jubilant mood and seemed to take special delight in seeing the Hare Krishnas participate in the celebration. One somewhat intoxicated group we passed exuberantly chanted the Hare Krishna mantra while carrying 6 packs of beer. Prabhupada laughed to see them enjoying the tour very much. We drove around the White House. Our plan was to have a group photo taken with Srila Prabhupada outside the front to use in BTG, but we were not allowed to stop. We went next to the large park in front of Capitol Hill. There was estimated 1.5 to 2 million people were assembled for the grand fireworks display scheduled for 9 p.m. Parking was impossible in the main precincts of the mall, but at the far end, furthest away from the Capitol Hill, we saw an open spot at the site of the Lincoln Memorial. We stopped and sat with Srila Prabhupada on the grass for a while, with people all around in an expectant and cheerful mood. The entire mall lay before us, seemingly jammed with spectators. We had a light kirtan using only the kartals and waited expectantly for the explosive display. Srila Prabhupada said that in Vedic times also there were fireworks on big celebration days. At the due time, the fireworks began. We saw some flashes of light at the far end of the mall, but nothing as spectacular has been advertised. After a short time, Prabhupada decided to leave before the main aerial display because a good view was impossible. It was also getting late, and the devotees did not want Prabhupada to get caught in the heavy exit traffic. It was a wise decision. Even with our early departure, it was almost 11 o'clock when we got back, and Srila Prabhupada was visibly very tired. July 5th, 1976. Srila Prabhupada went to Great Falls Park again for his walk. He was in a very lively mood, and in the car he asked what the use had been of yesterday's celebrations. He said the whole concept of being independent was foolish, and there could never be any question of independence. Krishna asked that if there's no independence, there's no question of anyone taking initiative in the material world. Initiative, what is that question? Srila Prabhupada asked him. Initiative, I understand, but do you think by taking initiative of independence, you become independent like this? By dancing in fireworks, you become independent? This is initiative, dancing like dogs. We sang a little ditty, making us all crack with laughter. We are independent. We are independent. Does it have any meaning? He said, grinning, dancing like a dog, that's all. Yadubara raised a question about free will. But they have choice within Maya, isn't that a fact? Choice what to do in the material world, many different fields. Will they say, they will say that they can do this or that. What they can do, Prabhupada challenged, they cannot do anything. At any moment you can be kicked out, get out. Therefore it is called conditioned life. There is no question of independence. That is foolishness. That is explained in Bhagavad Gita, that we are not independent. We are completely under the control of the stringent laws of material nature, and still they are thinking independent. Rupanuga compared their situation to that of a prisoner in jail who is still thinking he has some freedom. Srila Prabhupada expanded on it. The freedom is danya jane raha yena nadite, drowning the man in what? Now you have independence, so breathe. So he breathes, ah. All right, you are now a little relieved. All right, again become drowned. Oh, save me, save me, save me. All right, take out. Now breathe independently. That is independence. The rascal does not know. I am breathing independent, but at any minute I can be drowned. Very correct example. No independence. Independence is only when you are fully surrendered to Krishna. You surrender your all independence to Krishna. Then it is there. So we get our independence by surrendering our independence. Doesn't it sound crazy? But it's true, right? Now I surrender all my independence at your lotus feet. This sounds like a good prayer. Now I surrender all my independence at your lotus feet. If you like, you can kill me. If you like, that is independence. Otherwise, there is no independence. All foolishness, false egoism. He is thinking that I am independent. He told us that they were misusing their energy, and he gave a calculation on the cost of the whole production. Yesterday, some $2.5 million the government has spent, and we, the general public, also combined together, we have spent $10 million by power, gas, going there and coming. So all these $13 million spent for nothing, dancing like dogs, independence, Maya. A small crowd of expectant devotees met Srila Prabhupada at the park. Beginning his walk down the canal path, he informed Swarup Damodar of our conversation, offering another graphic and amusing comparison of modern life. So many people there. There are many earthworms, also ants also gathered together. Does it mean they are independent? You know the earthworms. They heap up earth and disappear. So you are, if you take it in that way, that big buildings, just like earthworms, gathering up earth and then disappears. Like the worms, we gather together and become a nation and apply all our energy. Heaps of buildings, then finished. We go somewhere, you go somewhere. And who knows that he's going to be next. Everything is going like that. Family, community, national, Washington. He gave you independence, but where is he? What is he doing? Where is that person who gave you independence? Perhaps as a sign of the state of their civilization, the newspaper this morning mentioned a rather amusing story about a massive birthday cake for America, baked especially for the celebrations. 5-story high, it had been brought to the mall on trucks. People queued for hours to get a piece, but then the health department condemned it because it had gone stale. There was a constant flow of dialogue as soon as we walked, some of it philosophical, some about the physical phenomena that surrounded us. Naturally, with the members of the Bhaktivedanta Institute there, science and its flaws have a recurrent theme. Pushta Krishna Swami asked, has there ever been debates on the authenticity of modern science, or is this the first time modern science has been challenged in the world? Srila Prabhupada spoke from the Vedic perspective. India, Vedic civilization never cared for anything which is searched out by imperfect human beings. They never cared for it because he knows the man who is searching after, he's imperfect. Whatever we'll do, that is imperfect. Therefore, neglect it. That is Vedic civilization, Shruti Pranana. Whether it's evident from the Shrutis about the Vedas, otherwise they reject it. I brought up an obvious point. These people in India who are aware of actual science thought that if they had come out and spoken against material scientists, Srila Prabhupada interrupted me. I am speaking. You are only one, though, Prabhupada Brishakapi. You're the only one, Prabhupada Brishakapi observed. Sadhaputta started to talk about some of the problems faced when making presentations of Krishna consciousness to students. So Srila Prabhupada clarified that our approach should be, no, we don't condemn the scientist. We say that take credit as much as you can, but why do you deny the existence of God? That is our protest. Sadhaputta said it was because they want to be God. That is their foolishness, Srila Prabhupada said. Have you not published that? You have created 747, all right, take credit, but you cannot make a mosquito with a pilot, can you? No. So how can you deny the Supreme Creator? We are taking it, there is Supreme Creator. Swarup Damodar said, the basic point they find it hard to understand because they are blind. Prabhupada said, it is common sense that you have created the 747. So someone must have created this, a small insect. That is a common sense. You cannot see him. That is your bad fortune. But something has been done. Brishakapi said, to be able to be fooled, that is the greatest wonder. How is it obvious that there's a creator, and yet one can say there's no creator? Prabhupada agreed, that is foolishness. That we are protesting, that you rascal, you stop this nonsense talking. There is son, there is mother, there must be father. This is conclusion. And I do not see father, I do not see that. But without father, how can there be son? That is intelligence. So if we don't see someone created it, it happened on its own. Like we see many cars come that are parked out here. Yes? Anybody seen someone make the cars? Does that mean they just came together on their own? Because you didn't see anyone make them. Therefore, they just came together by chance? The pieces sort of fell together? Is that what happened? Because if you didn't see someone put it together, it must have just come on its own. That's what Isaac Newton, one of his friends, says. He thought the universe was created by chance. So he made a model of the solar system, and you'd pedal a bicycle, and the planets would each go in their orbit. He left it in the guy's living room. And the guy said, where did this come from? And Isaac Newton said, well, it just appeared by chance. And he says, how is that possible? And Isaac Newton says, well, if you think this is a model of the soul. What was that? Is that from here or outside? What? Oh, if you think that this is a model of the solar system, if you think this solar system appeared by chance, then why couldn't you think the model could? Wouldn't it make sense that if one appeared by chance, so would the other? Just like if there's a car, if one appeared by chance, they all are. Or if you went to the factory and saw them put it together, wouldn't you figure the others are put together the same way? So just because you see it, don't see it doesn't mean it's not there, right? Just like if money is somehow stolen here in South Africa, but you didn't see them steal it, that means it wasn't stolen? Is that what it means? It's just like in the old days here when the apartheid government wanted to get rid of people, certain people just disappeared Does it mean they just vanished? Does it? Did they just vanish? They said that certain people just disappeared. Did they vanish? Or did someone help them disappear? They may take them in a helicopter and drop them over the ocean. No one sees it. That means they just disappeared, doesn't it? If no one saw it happening, that means it didn't happen. But that's not true. Things actually happen. So it's the same way here, that if it takes people to create the machines, machines don't just self-manifest, do they? What things self-manifest sometimes? What self-manifests that you've heard about? Does anybody know? What has self-manifest before? I'll give you a hint. It's in Vrindavan. What is it? The Radharaman deity. How is that possible? I thought things have to be created by somebody. You can't just self-manifest. So how can the deity self-manifest? How is that possible? Can you self-manifest? Can you just manifest things? So then how can the deity do it? Anybody know? If it's not possible for you to self-manifest, then how is it possible for the deity? Someone must know. Because he's God, he's able to do things you can't do. That's the whole point. He can self-manifest as a deity. And you can't do that. You can't just self-manifest as a form. Because of that, he can self-manifest. But it was created by somebody. Krishna can create things that looks like they just came out of the void. But Krishna's not a void. He can make a form of himself. He can create the universes. The universe come out of his body in a seed-like form. Anybody else have universes come out of their body? They don't? Some things come out, but they're not universes. We sure hope they're not, right? Otherwise we'd be in a world of stool, right? If the things that came out of you were universes, it might be a bad universe. So we have to understand that the pure devotee understands Krishna, and he understands how these things are working. Are there any questions or comments about this? There's a big packet here, but we will start reading this from next time. But it says bacteria is produced from fermentation. We know that. Just like nasty bedding from your perspiration, if you don't clean, bugs will come. In India, the Europeans, they eat meat. Automatically, bugs and germs come within their coat and shirt due to bad perspiration. Does that mean that eggs are laid by the female and then the atmosphere of personation lays to be hacked? No, Prabhupada said, from the perspiration automatically it comes. Interesting, huh? There is father and mother, Prabhupada said. The perspiration is another form of nature, so they lay their eggs in it. But we don't want that, do we? So there's a big mission that we have to do, and we see that Srila Prabhupada took the thing seriously. We can't say, I'll do, Krishna, I surrender to you, and I will do anything that you want. But I have a list of covenants, conditions, restrictions, things that you need to fulfill for me first. Is this what we call unalloyed devotional service? Or do each of those sound like alloys, things we're mixing with it? Krishna, I will serve you completely, except for, just like saying, I will come here into the temple room on every day, except the ones that end in Y. Otherwise, I'll be here. Now, does that sound like I've restricted myself from complete surrender? So when we surrender to Krishna, it means that if we have these reservations, we should be aware of it. And we should take some responsibility. Some people want to take responsibility to run the whole thing and think that they'll do better than the presidents in a GBC, but they can't even be responsible for their simple tasks. Be responsible for the things that you've been given to do. Show up on time. Be responsible to meet new people and tell them something about Krishna consciousness. Or even just make a friend with them so they can come back next week. I noticed that here on Sundays, people don't, we used to in the old days, the devotees would go and sit with new people and talk with them. They don't all just get in a circle and talk with their family and friends. So we should do this. I think we have a Sunday program tomorrow. We seem to have a Sunday program every Sunday, right? And when people come, we do have people who greet them at the door, right? But say you're at the temple and you see somebody who's new, you go and talk to them, make a friend, because imagine how it feels when they come and everybody else seems to know what's going on and they don't. You know, if you see a man come with his wife and 3 children, and his brother comes with his wife and 3 children, there's already 10 of them if they're neglected. But someone who comes alone, they may feel really alone if no one talks to them. But the fact that they came alone means that they were really curious to find out what's going on. If you neglect them, they'll be the most dissatisfied. But if you go and talk to them, they're the most satisfied. Because I've had people who are old friends say, I'd like to come to that temple. Will you take me there or meet me there? But if someone's really interested, they don't wait for someone else to bring them. They just show up on their own. They're not worried about the conditions. Maybe someone will like me, maybe someone won't, but I'm going to show up there and find out. So the people who come alone are your best candidates to be either encouraged or feel neglected. So we have to look for those people. Remember that the ones that came on their own are the best candidates. And if they feel nobody talks to them, the first thing you do is find out something about them. You don't know, do you know what the 10 purposes of Srimad Bhagavatam are? And shall I explain to you Vedanta, its mortology and ontology? Anybody know what that means? The mortology is the form, and the ontology is the content. And that's why I realize the content is more important. Somebody may not be dressed in a proper dhoti, but they come to a temple or on their way to work, and they want to serve the deity, and they come to chant, and the content is right. So we have to judge by the content more than the form. Of course, when we're here at the temple, we can wear the Vaishnava clothing, but it's only a part of it. It's only to show what we're doing. The real showing is how we act. What do they say? Pretty is as pretty does. You can get all dressed up in a nice dhoti or sari, but then if you don't act like someone who can be helpful, that's what they want to know. So when that comes on Sunday, you meet some new people. If you can talk to people on books, you can talk to people who are already here. And either one of those activities helps to strengthen the other when you talk to people out on the street. And that's why handing the mantra cards out is easy. Because if you walk up to someone and say, I'm selling sets of books, do you have a few thousand rand to buy them? It may not be the perfect approach, but if you start saying, we have a special program every Sunday, and I wanted to specially give you an invitation. Like here we're passing out cards. You know, people come in those Laguna, oh, we got an invitation to come to the Sunday feast. Say, this is an invitation to come to our Sunday program. You feel like to specially sort them out. Not, well, we're giving cards to everybody because we want everybody to come to our temple. Say, I wanted to give you an invitation. You call it an invitation, and it has the mantra we chant on it. We are personally inviting you to come to the temple. And then you tell them that we have some books that also explain this philosophy. That way you're not just a bookseller trying to sell something. What are you trying to sell? And that way if they don't take one, you've already given them an invitation. And it's so much better to call it an invitation. If people come with it, is it because sometimes people wonder, can I go there? Am I allowed to go there? But if you get an invitation, that removes all doubt, right? Someone says, oh, you should go to that temple. They might wonder, well, I don't know if they want me, or I don't know if I'm allowed. But if they get an invitation, that means you personally invited them to come. I think that's why sometimes they'll come with the invitation, as if maybe they need to show it. They don't, but the fact that they were personally invited makes them feel special. And they are special, but they're not the only one. So we'll stop there. I'm going to go soak my head in some water, because I said before, some people think 28's hot. Other people think it's not hot till it's 30. Some people 33. But today it's going to be 40. And I think everybody agrees that's hot, right? Do they? Anybody say that's not hot? It's not hot till it gets to 50? Hare Krishna.